really precious, like cringe-inducing content to it now that you watch. In fact, I refer to it as, well, your bum scrunches up, like your anus is like, oh, fuck. While you're like, embarrassed or something else. And if you're a guy, I'm again, I don't know with women, but I mean, for myself, sometimes I'll be at the urinal, you know, and you're peeing and you get what I call like the piss willies, so you're there and then you're peeing and all of a sudden you're just like, so sometimes the lyrical content of musicals gives me the piss willies as well. And would I be interested in scoring the movie one now? Sure, but I just have to have control over it because the way that I write music typically is really a specific process which requires me to follow it in whichever direction it leads. If I don't do that, it always ends up seeming inauthentic to me. So if somebody's telling me what to do, it's going to be very difficult because I don't want to tell them what to do. All right, so in the opening of Sprite, is the opening of Sprite a deliberate callback to the opening lines from SYL with the family recordings from your younger self telling stories? Yes, he's bugging me, he's in my peripheral, down. Yes, and the reason why it was a callback was the idea is that Empath acts as a opportunity to not only reflect on all the work in the past, but also reflect on my current frame of mind, how it feels about each one of those musical aesthetics. And in fact, I think what I'm going to be doing following Empath is going to be significantly different than what I've done in the past. So the old man on Sprite acts as like, well, the kid grew up and turned into that guy. That's actually Nolly's dad, who was one of the engineers for the record. So there's a non-interesting factoid that I will now disregard with a bunch of words. Okay, so from Sarah, who has big, friendly handwriting. What advice do you have for a young bipolar creative who has no idea what the fuck she's doing? Hey guy's like, mental illness. No, I'm not joking. Okay, what advice do I have for a young bipolar creative who has no idea what the fuck she's doing? Well, that's a good question. I'm in this very dubious position of people assuming on some level that because I'm sitting here under the lights that my answers are worth a shit. And the only thing that I can reflect on is the fact that now I'm, 47 years old. In a couple of days, happy birthday to Dev. May 5th, motherfucker, tourist band. So, what would I suggest? I think that the best thing that someone who is bipolar can do for themselves is exercise and meditation, because I think you find yourself a lot spinning when you are a creative person who has any predisposition to mental illness or proclivity for anxiety or things like this. I think that physical exercise is one of the best ways to sort of remove that excess energy. And meditation is great as well because it allows us to consciously have an exercise for the brain that focuses us on one thing, potentially to the exclusion of all others. And also the practice includes self-forgiveness when you do stray from that. And I think both of those things help people who have a tendency to sort of tunnel their ways down a rabbit hole. And I found that the creative process is highly encouraged by both of those things, because when I'm more relaxed and when I'm more focused, I'm able to discern what is a real problem from something that I'm creating due to my own anxiety. So, woo! All right. From Rebecca, do you watch Game of Thrones? Who do you think is going to sit on the Iron Throne? No spoilers, haha. All right. Thank you. I don't, but I hesitate to say that I don't, because I also think it's a thing with people who don't, where they wear it as a badge of honor. It's like, I don't even fucking know what a throne of, I don't even know. It's just like, but I mean, the people that I know who really like it think it's fucking amazing. I'm also contrarian in a lot of ways. People told me that Breaking Bad was something I had to see, so I didn't watch it because they told me it was great. It was like, dude, you haven't seen it? It's the best. You gotta watch it. I was like, well, there we go. Seals it. I'm never gonna fucking watch it. So, who is gonna sit on the Iron Throne? Well, That is something we could go into as well. I don't watch it. I hear it's great, and hooray for the dragons and the guy with the wrinkly face and all the violence. Okay, so do you have any advice on how to develop vocal fry technique, screaming, and how do you approach it? Okay, so vocal fry I found out recently is the thing that I do where I go, but I find there's a lot of these sort of YouTube channels where people are like, there's a suspicious amount of vocal teachers. I'm just going to say this. Right? It's like vocal teacher reacts, and I mean, I don't know, it's like I got halfway through one of them and I feel like such a schmuck for somebody talking about me that it's like, it's like the piss willies again, it's the same person. So, and one thing that I found is that I don't know what I'm doing, but these vocal teachers very kindly have explained to me what I'm doing. Apparently I do a vocal fry technique. And how do I approach it? Okay. I don't sing ever until I have to go on tour or record. The day before I have to perform, I scream until I taste blood, and then I hope that the next day it's still there. And something about not eating tomatoes, so good luck! What is the album you're most happy with sound-wise, both your own work and others? I'm a huge fan of Soilwork's Natural Born Chaos. Yeah, I mean, I'm not happy with anything that I've done, but I'm satisfied enough that I gave it every ounce of effort that I could to actualize it in the time that I had before people who are also responsible for this management label start yelling at me. So, but I think it's like a good mix for me. It's like you just have to abandon it at some point. You can't obsess about it to the point, this is we talk about bipolar or obsessive compulsive or anything that even hints at that, even if it's not truly that as an artistic side, you've got to be able to let it go. And that's what the meditation helps with as well, because nothing's ever going to be right. It's always going to drive me crazy. All I hear when I listen back to my own works are the mistakes. And what is my favorite sounding record? I mean, it all kind of changes, depends what it is. If it's like a bum and tit, you know, that sort of thing, it's like you can make that sound really good if it's just like guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, because there's nothing in those frequency ranges in the upper mids there that require that sort of surgery. However, with Empath, for example, which I'm satisfied with it sonically, which is good, but 90% of the information that exists in that sonic spectrum is in the upper mids. So we've got my voice, which has a frequency range like about 3.5K, sorry Paul, which really pokes out, and also the choir, the synths, the cymbals, the orchestra, the brass, like all these things, the echoes, it all exists in this one thin frequency range. So in order to make that speak, it requires a lot of surgery. Because the way I perceive music is always, I think of it as color, right? Like, A is red, B is orange, G is green, D is blue, C is light blue, blah, 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 blah. And like, you know, a C is a circle and a G is a triangle, and, you know, and anxiety is kind of like olive colored with orange around the outside and sort of a weird sort of thing around my navel. So it's like, all those sorts of things become what I'm focused on in a mix. And because I don't technically know what I'm doing, I mean, I do, I guess now. But in the same way as vocals, I just kind of fuck around with it until it doesn't piss me off anymore. So, yeah, I think that one album with the kick drum that's big sounds great. Okay, so. Wow, that was a lot. Holy cow. Okay, hi Devin. I first saw you with Vi at Glasgow. Holy cow, that was years ago. 26 years ago. I still have profound memories of that night, and you made me look at music differently. Any chance of a few bars of In My Dreams with you? Oh, hey, every night you suddenly appear in my eyes. It happens when I sleep. It isn't right what I do. In my dreams with Simon. All right, so. What is your favorite sandwich filling? Now we're talking about something. Eating is yes. Fuck yeah, without it we all die. Tuna, no. You know what I like the Emmental mushroom thing they have at Costa. That's a good one. That's a good one. Egg mayonnaise now. I mean, kittens, I think, if they're good, probably. I like a good dose of profound existential sadness mixed in with just like a teaspoon of apathy, which ends up being sort of like sort of happy nihilism. You know, you're just like, everything's fucked. Hey. What's your? I'm sorry. What is your opinion on moldy cheese? No, sir, don't like it. But I mean, what's the one with the bugs in it? I don't like that one either. I like the ones that don't smell like flatulence, but it's because back home in Canada we don't have a wide variety of cheeses that I don't fucking add. You know what I really do like though? Calm down. Right in the cusp of a manic episode. Keep it together, Dad. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Jeez. All right, so I do like. There's a channel on YouTube called Channel Cheese, and it's just a lady that follows cheese making processes around the world. Like this, like they go and they get these fire with a big brass thing, and the guy with that super hairy, suspiciously hairy arms, like in there, talking in Italian, and I find it really calming. And I like that more than the cheese itself, so I think that's where I'm at with this. Hi, Mr. T, can you explain where Chad Kroeger is on the new record? We can't figure it out. Okay, so Chad's on that death metal one, Hear Me, and he sings in the chorus, he goes, I do that, every morning, and he goes, every morning, when the morning. So that's where it is. But it's more, his participation in it is more of a token of what I feel like I gleaned from my interactions with him. And we're acquaintances more than friends, but one thing that I really learned is the amount of shit that guy takes for just being who he is actually inspiring in a way. Because he's just like, look, people don't like this. A lot of people have a lot of problems with it, but clearly a lot of people like it. And by spending time with him, I recognize that in a very similar way to me, he's doing what it is that he's compelled to do musically. And that has resulted in what he has in his life. But he's also, his personality is the type that can handle that. And it was very interesting for me to see that because I recognize that in order for me to be honest with what I'm doing, I have to follow a certain path that's similar. And so I just had him on Hear Me just because that was kind of artistically fun. You know, like Chad on the song was like, right? He's a great guy. All right, so next. All right, so I want to touch the slot. Boop. Why did you write Deep Peace? Wait, I guess that's also, can you play? I guess what you're saying is, can I play Deep Peace? Because yes, I can play. And why did I write it? I guess there was a deep, compelling. Okay, so let me talk about Deep Peace. Deep Peace was, come on, over the ears. There we go. Deep Peace was a song that I remember when I was writing it. I remember thinking, oh, it's the last song that gets heard before the earth blows up. I'll play it. He's got me. Is this working now? Let's see. Up there, there's a screen that calls it to the left, to the left. All right, where is it?